Hello, welcome to the Women in Data Science series of the Shelley Show. I'm Shailendra, and you're watching this simulcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Hope you're safe and maintaining social distancing. For you to view this episode and other sessions that are on emerging technologies live, I would request you to follow me so that you can be alerted when a live session is on. This gives you an opportunity to directly ask questions to the guests. And so press the follow button and also subscribe button on YouTube. I must say, I must thank you all for the love that you've given to the Women in Data Science series to celebrate the leading ladies of data science. Every fortnight, we will bring the leading ladies of data science to this platform and understand their point of view on how data science world is moving forward. So if you know a leading lady of data science and want everyone here to hear from them, then please mention their name in the comment section and we will definitely try to bring them here and have a chat with them. Okay, and furthermore, if you've got any questions, please write them in the comment box so that we can take the questions. Okay, let me not waste any time and quickly bring our guest to you. My first guest is Guninder Bajwa from Circle K. Guninder is Director of Analytics, Global Projects for Circle K, one of the world's leading convenience retailers present in 26 countries globally. A seasoned leader with 15 plus years of experience leading teams across 3 continents. She's an engineer by education, did her MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and has worked within strategy consulting, design automation, and convenience retailing. Let me bring her on. Hi, Guninder.
Hi, Shailendra. Nice to be here with you and all your viewers.
Welcome to the Shelley Show, the Women in Data Science series. Good stuff. Give me a minute, I'll get the other guests too very quickly. My second guest is Michelle Duval. Michelle is a researcher and founder of Fingerprint for Success, a people analytics and AI coaching platform. Michelle has led several world-first studies into human motivation and correlation with performance and success, of which data and insights can be found within a Fingerprint for Success. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to Women in Data Science Shelley Show.
Thank you, Shelley. Great to be here.
How are you doing?
Great. Thank you.
Okay, good. So Guninder is from India and you're from Sydney, Australia. And I'm from Sydney, Australia too. Let me bring the third guest very, very quickly. And finally, we have Dr. Catherine Lopez. Dr. Lopez is a strategic team leader, a business outcome-focused data scientist, a data-driven consultant, and a passionate educator. Her recent focus is on helping organizations to uplift business performance by applying advanced analytics, machine learning, and AI through governed enterprise data management. Catherine has worked in the data and analytics domain for more than 20 years internationally across a wide range of sectors. She has a unique suite of skills, including deep technical background, focused business delivery mindset, strong storytelling communication, and excellent leadership skills. Her specialties are in machine learning, analytics transformation, data management, and end-to-end delivery. Hi, Catherine. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Good stuff. Okay, very quickly, firstly, I must thank all of you for taking time out today and from 3 different parts of the world, from 2 different parts of the world. I would say 3 because Melbourne, Sydney, and you're from Delhi, I guess?
Yes.
Good stuff. So let's start with the data science processes. So I'll give you a bit of context behind this is because when I was doing data science in my early days, it was a hit and trial kind of a methodology. And it wasn't even called data science, to be honest. It was plain blank analytics. And the idea was to get an outcome out of it. And so have things changed since then? Do you think that there is an embedded end-to-end process that has been developed over the years? And if yes, then what do you see in your organization? So let me start with Guninder. Guninder, do you want to give a quick rundown on that?
As you hinted at, Shelley, I think one of the key things which definitely has changed is just the amount of terminology thrown around, right? So there's a lot more words for, as you say, what was just called analytics. Some of it is natural as this field has progressed. I think what we have seen is a lot more, shall we say, profiles and niches coming in, which drive this process forward. In terms of process, yes, I would say we are growing as a field from having, shall I say, more hit and trial. Yet, I would say widely, we still have challenges on, shall I say, scaling up a lot of pilots and initiatives to really at an enterprise level, which is where I work on. So if you ask me, is there one tried, trusted process end to end which is capable of delivering on every project? I wouldn't necessarily say there is a silver bullet, right? I would say there is a lot still evolving. That said, there is much more rigor and an understanding of the different facets that are involved, from going from just collecting the data to just cleansing it, to analyzing it, to even putting it out there. We also sort of put it all under the heading of data science. I think what has also come into its own over the last, I would say, few years is the data engineering part of it, the awareness of the key roles that are played in that space. So what I'm trying to say is, I think there is a natural maturity coming here to the whole space, and along with it come an awareness of different roles and the part that different pieces have to play in, because data science and analytics is a team sport, and unless you can drive action from it, the process in my mind is a failure. So it's connecting the dots from the beginning, from actually defining the problem to getting the data to finally creating action.
Okay, that was a good explanation of that. We are somewhere in your world. We're somewhere in between a structured process to a hit and trial. Michelle, from a product point of view, what have you seen? Is there a structured process that you guys follow, or is it again a hit and trial methodology that we use?
Yeah, so we have a twofold approach. One is the structured process, and there's the emergence of the hit and trial process for us. So it's hard for me to evaluate history of data science, because I myself am more new to data science, and only in the last 5 years. So obviously in those 5 years, there's been an enormous amount of changes as well. And I think one of the biggest changes that I've observed in that period of time is the amount of people who have an interest in data science. So if we look at people across an organisation, it used to be in the past that certain individuals deemed themselves with the title of a data scientist, and what we're seeing emerging across not only our tech company but many technology companies is most people have to start to appreciate and value whether it's a structured process or a hit and trial process. Everyone needs to value the process, and everybody needs to participate in the process. So I would underscore what Guninder said around it's a team process, and the more everybody across the organisation gets involved in the process, the better the outcomes. So one of the things that we do in our business is we study people analytics. So we study people's motivations at work. And one of the things we measure is the distinction around sole responsibility versus shared responsibility. And one of the trends that's showing up in our data is that we're seeing millennials, for example, have as an unconscious bias a very strong motivation towards shared responsibility. So as we see many of them entering the field of data science, we're seeing naturally that influence over how projects work and how important teamwork is.
Okay. Catherine, what's your point of view on the process? What do you see?
Well, first of all, I would like to echo the Granders, and this is a team. Data science is new, and there are too many terminologies, and but this is a team sport. And again, I reflect on Michelle's perspective. There is a shared responsibility, they're co-responsibilities, and I completely agree with this. But you're talking about the data science, and back to the olden days, we call data mining as a part of the data science. And if you talk about the process, process actually. And the other day, I referred someone look on Wikipedia about the process of doing a data mining, where like you can trace back to I think 1960 or 90 late early 2000, and I don't quote me on that. And so basically the process is very well defined. However, the scale is getting larger, and there is a multiple field actually. Let me explain. This is what I still remember. It's the same thing where you have your problem or question, you ask question, you define your problem. It's a life cycle. So the second part, you go on and to get the data collection and ETL process, and where then you move on to actually build the analytics. And well, sometimes you have to do a basic analytics, sometimes you do advanced analytics. And when you do advanced analytics, and you do actually build a model. When you build a model, it's not going to guarantee to work and deliver the result. You have to test it out. When you test it out, and then you push it and to the back end where it interact with the front end, where you get feedback, and you get, this is part of the beauty about data science, where you can see the experiments and you can see what's the result and the model you build. So however, and this is still in the you can call it a development stage, it's not productionized yet. So that's it, you're going to actually productionalize it, and where you're going to involve productionalize it into the production environment. There you get the software developers and you get some data engineers and into the infrastructure. So, and this is entire circle, but it's not the end. So it's a very well-defined process from early days, where you can actually feed the feedback loop, because data is changing and the audience is changing and the market is changing. So this is the product actually is keep on changing. So that's where you feed back and to the beginning, where you're going to see monitor. So monitor what is the performance of the product or the deliverable. So then you start the cycle again. However, now even that is the infrastructure, the cloud computing, plus engineer maturity, and plus the market, and also digitization, where you can get a lot of people can actually, in the B2C market, you can test that very quickly. That's why you have the entire, the life cycle for data science product to be in, to have involved with everyone together. This is a team. So I think that is where you have different organizations worked for or worked with, and then they are going through a different stage of the maturity and understanding. Certainly there you get to look at, the maturity level and what you are producing and what is your business goal. So
Okay.
in terms of the process, I think there is a trace back, where very well defined.
Okay, so I'll quickly put that question to the audience as well. And for the audience, how do you see data science processes in your organization? Is it structured, or is there a hit and trial methodology around there? So let's hear from the audience as well. There are around about 15 people watching us live at the moment. So guys, if you've got a question, put that through, and please try to answer the question as well, so that we get your point of view as well, what's going on in your organization. From what I have seen, and very quickly, I'll give you 2 cents of what I know about it, is that when I started my career, it was all hit and trial. Even we didn't even know, what we used to say. There was a common theme there saying, give me the data and I'll show you something. But when I joined Accenture, and I worked for Accenture for 5 years running analytics, everything is, it's a consulting company, everything is structured. So we landed up creating a structured approach to it, which started from defining the outcome first, then collecting the data, building a model, finding the output, and going back and seeing whether that worked or not. As you said, Catherine, there is a loop there which you need to check whether the outcome that you're trying to achieve is nearby, whether the model is strong enough, what's going on there. And then from there on, if that is done, then the execution aspect of it. So there is a kind of process that is getting into play now, and a structured process. And as we go into machine learning component, I think that too is going to go into a process where that will go automated to a level that most of the processes will be automated in that area as well. And I think I'll agree with all 3 of you because you've got a different perspective from different point of view. There is something that is moving from hit and trial to the a structured process. Guys, what do you see in your organization, whether it is a hit and trial or whether it is a structured process? Please let us know. And also, do not forget to ask questions. If you have any question, please share it here and we will take them. Okay, the next section is around the skills, and that's, for me, is a big elephant in the room, because I think what has happened over the years is that people have started changing their titles from a reporting person or a data person to a data scientist because they thought that will pay them more. I don't know whether that is true or not. So what do you think? What are you seeing in your market, Guninder? No, I'll start with Catherine this time.
All right, so I think, well, I got my first data scientist title was many years ago. There was the previous title was analytical engineer. We actually didn't do much difference thing in our day in day out life and at work, but due to the the Harvard review and about the data scientist is a sexist job. Now we got our title changed, and I can certainly see over the years there is so much demand, and which is you call see so much demand desire or for people say, well, I have a PhD and I change I do a little bit I touch on data or some is different so broad definition about data scientists. If you look at the data scientist job description and also the interviews, and I think that's certainly their what I tell people, and my observation is that it has been a hype into when the new term and a new technology or new name and it's sexy and people think that's earn more than other professions. So they're now actually over the years from 2015 to 2019, you can see actually the trend is started in merge. So that's it compared to other professions, and the salary wise, and also how many people actually that get into the still within a large demand, and also there is a desire. However, there is the market is very I would just say cloudy. I put it that way, cloudy. And so that's what I say for data scientist, if you ask me the title.
Now, I'll tell you a story before I get to Guninder on this. But what happened around about 3 years ago? I was working for this large corporate. I won't name them. Which one was that? You need to guess. And they said to me that, we're going to open up a lab, an analytics lab in Melbourne. So I asked them, where do you find the people? So the lady, she was in the UK, turned around and told me, go to LinkedIn. You're sitting in front of the computer? I said, yes. Go to LinkedIn and type data scientist. And I did. And you know how many data scientists we found in Australia? 230,000. And I was like, okay. So I know that there are around about 10 to 12 different data scientists who actually do data science existing in Australia. Where have these 230,000 people appeared overnight? Anyways, the reality when I looked at those CVs going forward, what I found was that most of the people have changed their titles from doing some data management work to becoming a data science, from creating some reports to become a data scientist and so forth. But that's an old story. Guninder, how do you see in your market? I think you've got a lot of PhDs there in India, so you must have some good analytical skills available to you.
I think there are, but it kind of depends on what you're looking for, right? I would say some of the smartest people I have occasionally interviewed or come across have been PhDs and very strong on the theoretical aspect, but not grounded enough in the business experience and aspects, because data science in business is a good mix of theory and pragmatism. And knowing when good is good enough versus perfecting the model or tinkering with it for a longer period than the business can take. So So to echoing what both of you said just now, I think there's a lot of confusion out there, and the term data scientist even today is claimed by people who have taken a few online courses for a few weeks to people who have worked in the field for many, many years and bring very strong knowledge to the table. But from a very practical sense, I would say a true data scientist, for a true data scientist to actually succeed in business, you need that mix of domain knowledge, practical experience, and theoretical knowledge. And that mix is very hard to find.
Okay. What do you see, Michelle?
Yeah, I kind of would just echo what both Catherine and Guninder have said already. It was one of the most shocking things that happened to me in my business, because I went to go and recruit and hire and try and find data scientists, and I very quickly realized that exactly what's just been described, that the definition is very blurred, there's a lot of confusion, and it's been quite a challenge actually to try and find the needles in the haystack amongst all of the potential people who call themselves a data scientist. What we've learned is that we need to be very, very focused on the application of the data work, and to be able to find people who have experience in specific applications, and that we can't take a very generalist approach. I read an article, I think it was last week, that made a prediction that from an engineering standpoint, like tech engineering, a software company, that machine learning and data science in that domain will no longer be a defined role, that in 5 years' time that all software engineers, the data science, machine learning aspect will just be an everyday part of any kind of sprint for a technical process. And so I think that's an interesting prediction for the future, and we're kind of already seeing that in that whole team approach that we've been talking about together.
Okay, good stuff.
Guninder, if I may just add, I think we've all been talking about how there's a lot of confusion, a lot of people claiming to be data scientists, but I don't think we can just blame the individuals. I think the organizations have a part to play here also, because what I find is everyone wants to claim they have X number of data scientists working on key problems. And the truth is, not every organization, A, needs data scientists, and second, they need perhaps a few mixed with a whole team of other skill sets before the data scientists can really add value. So I also find when I go out is all these great advertisements where rarely people are asking for data scientists, but if you end up doing analyst work, well, you're creating, or data engineering work, there's a big dissonance there in the market. So I would say there's a lot of blame to share around with everybody in this industry. We all have a part to play here.
Well, I think there is a problem at the senior level as well, and some of it is to blame to the large organizations and the Gartners of the world who create these hypes. And you know what happens is, and I'll tell you, this is how it works because I've been there, done that. A lot of times, a lot of CIOs land up at Gartner and these large conferences, and they're told that you should be doing data science. Of course, very good. The CEOs are there, the CIOs are there. They go home and they say, well, now we should do data science. How do we do data science? Let's get one of our program managers to find out data scientists. And these program managers are all IT guys. And they go, and their job is now to write the job description for a data scientist. They don't know, what to write, because they've been IT guys through and through. So they go online to figure out what should be the job profile of this guy, and they just create something. And so now who's interviewing them? A program manager or a project manager, a glorified project manager, the CIO, who only heard from the large organizations to say they need data science. And so that is the problem, because it's I think a problem for educational problem at that level, the awareness problem at the senior level as well, because they don't know what they don't know. They're just doing that for the sake of, because someone has told them and it's going to be beneficial for their organization, not because they need it and there is an outcome decided to be done. Anyways, I can go on with this. Let's go on to the next question. Because I'm very passionate about this, because I've seen that in the marketplace a lot.
I cannot say agree 200%. I have seen so many times. Yeah,
Okay.
it happens. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So next question, and lots of budding data scientists are watching this. What do you advise those budding data scientists to focus on, to be successful? Do they focus on coding, on process, on outcome? What do you think they should focus on? And I'll go with Michelle first.
From our experience of working with many different technical people, I would say that technical skills are critical, and obviously choosing the path or the area of data science that you want to master. From the discussion that we just had, getting really clear on what data science means to you, predicting where you think the trends are going to go in the future, and really honing in on what your talent is. So if you have a talent for data engineering, follow your talent and become the best at it in the world. Our whole study in our business is the study of human motivation and performance. And what we found is, in all of our studies, is that there is a strong correlation between motivation and performance. And if you don't have a strong motivation, ultimately your performance is going to suck. So you can fake it, but when you're actually under pressure, if you don't have a genuine interest in it, and if you don't actually genuinely want to dedicate yourself to mastery, I still believe, despite the number of changes that we've just spoken about that have occurred even only in the last 5 years, that you can still create a path for yourself that's based around the area of whether it's process, whether it's any aspect of the data science processes, that you can find an area that you enjoy and give yourself to it. We know that mastery takes many years. And you might be able to have some success with ad hoc projects. That's going to certainly expand your skills. But like we've just learned, if you're just a generalist with a whole lot of ad hoc projects, you're not that marketable in the market.
Okay. What do you think about this, Catherine?
I think that is a perfect description, and I describe it as a T-shape. So that's if you look at it, so you want to be a generalist, which given data science is a multidisciplinary field, and you will get the opportunity to actually work on different parts in the team sports, right? So that is where your entry level. So while you're doing the entry level, and there could be, even lead to a business side, or lead to the data engineer side, or lead to the development, the automation, or cloud, or maybe foundation. You want to say, I want to spend more time doing the algorithm itself. So that is the T-shape. You can actually, get broader access. Then the passion or the true motivation, and I'm going to take you further. So take you further to the next level. In addition to you go to build up your leadership and management. That is a mid-tier career development and a career path. You can also go through the track of technical track, or you go to the management track any time. It's however, I do think you really, this is a part of the, I think a great thing, you look at the positive side for data science is you get opportunity to get into the field and from different backgrounds, and then you can, get experience in a broader space. So that is, then you can take it off from there onwards.
Okay. Guninder, what do you think? What do you advise budding data scientists, what they should focus on?
Adding to what Catherine said, I would say when you're starting your career, I would encourage people to experiment or really expose themselves to different kind of data sets, different parts of the process, to really, as Catherine said, right, go with the T and figure out what really motivates you, what really you're passionate about. So those are the aspects you can hone as you go ahead, whether it's then you are wanting to develop in a technical or management track, that's different. But it is important, since it is a team sport, it's important to at least have some on different aspects of the process while you choose to specialize in one or more. People who are just starting out, along with being generalists, what I will also say is this is an area where the tools of the trade are evolving fast, maybe faster than any other field, and they will continue to evolve. So do not aim at or do not focus all your attention on being the perfect Python programmer or being the perfect R programmer. That is good, but it is more short-sighted versus spending at least an equal amount of time in understanding the fundamentals of data science, right? The math that goes on. Why do you fit a certain model or treat and approach a problem in a certain way? And put your time in finding out and figuring out and being strong in those fundamentals while you build your technical skills. That's one. Being a generalist is the second, I would say. And the third, I would say, is always be a learner. It kind of flows from the first two, but be open to learning in all facets of life. Be an observer, be a learner, because that's really what is going to stand you in good stead over the coming decades, I would say, in this field.
Actually, you've mentioned a very interesting fact, and I think I did not ask that question upfront, should have asked it earlier, but what are the important skills you see for becoming a data scientist? I think that is an important question which people should know when they want to become a data scientist. What should they be actually looking at? Is it coding, or is it, it should, because there is a lot of discussion around Python. So I'm a Python coder and I'm a data scientist now. Is it R? Is it understanding an end-to-end process? What do you see people learning more? So are Python coders data scientists by definition? What do you think? What are the important skills?
For me, it's the understanding of the basics and the understanding you can bring about saying why you would choose a certain methodology or a certain model to approach a certain business problem and find the solution. And it's not always a model at the bleeding edge of analytics, which is best suited for the problem, right? Because it's what is it that is good enough in business to solve that you can get up and running reasonably well from prototype to production, and then you can continue to hone it and improve it. So that's what I'm saying. Exposing yourself to different kinds of data sets, I see as equally important as having adequate knowledge of tools. I think one of us also spoke earlier about a lot of automation coming in terms of the model libraries which are available. So it becomes less about writing code from scratch. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there is a lot of value in being at that cutting edge. But if I'm thinking about large enterprises, businesses where we are, you need to know enough to be able to understand what is the right model, and you need to know enough to be able to read through it, tweak it, and improve it to suit your purpose. It's rare that we actually end up building bespoke models from scratch. There are occasions, but it's not as if you need, hundreds of data scientists to do that every day.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to build on what Guninder said, that someone can be very math orientated, which is obviously at the heart of data science. But if they're so extreme that way and also don't have strong communication skills, it'll be very hard to apply those skills. And so the ability to consult to other stakeholders in the business. So if we take our business, a product-centered business, understanding users' outcomes or the business partners' outcomes and the application of the project at hand is super critical to what Guninder's just described about being able to identify the appropriate methodologies or tools or models for that project. So being able to ask the types of questions and understanding the context with which you're working in is absolutely critical to being able to deliver the best solution.
And Catherine, what do you think?
Well, I think really down to where you're going to have at the entry level. All right, so there are entry level and a mid-level, mid-career. And also what type of company you're going to use. It isn't back to the definition of job description of a data scientist. And so what I think is you're going to actually find out a strategy of where and then you're going to start. Is it your first job? And to whether you're the first job and a graduate, you're going to find a company who can actually take you in. And because you have a Python programming, background, and you also have some business understanding, so the minimal viable skill set you can get into the real project or real company and to work to gain the experience, because it takes time, and it takes time to build on all these skills or understand the domain knowledge. If you don't really work in that domain, it's really hard for you just by reading some of the material you learn from school. And also, if you don't really touch on the large volume data and you don't get the chance, so I would say, it depends on where you are. And so you're going to work out what actually can get you to get a job. When you get to the job, where you're going to build on, use that opportunity and to build on the other skills. And that's why I say it's a unicorn. And after 20 years, and I put 5 years focus on this, 5 years focus on the other one, 20 years, you can't really, get everything in one day. And but I think, completely agree. That is a foundation, a lot of foundation with automation. The people, it's not just a piece of tool and they say, I have a hammer and I'm going to bash up everything. No, you got to choose the right tool to do the right problem. So that's a problem solving. If you understand you want to solve the problem so PhD degree give you a good foundation to take our project during a period of time and the problem solving. But however, you really need to know the balance as well. So with the, in the theoretical world and in the academia, it's different to industry. And you have a deadline and you have, a delivery date you have to catch. So that is a part where I think it's really hard to, say to ping pong. But I agree completely with the, Michelle and Glenda's view, and is what I think is look at what you have and look at what you need to build on to fund the next one.
Okay, so let me try to summarize what you guys said, and there are different levels, as Catherine said. There are different what level you are in the organization, but what I've heard is that there is a statistics aspect of it, which is the core of it, as Michelle said, which is the heart of everything. Then you got to have good communication skills so that you can explain it to the business so that they can execute it, and possibly you should have good IT skills to also handle large volumes of data and select data from there. And I think these three skills to get put together makes a data scientist, is what I'm hearing, right? Okay,
Yes.
not from each one of you. Next question, which is a bit tricky, and it is around women in data science. So why do we find very few women in data science in this space? And what is your organization doing to encourage women to actually stick to the workforce and not drop out? Is there anything that you've seen you want to share? And I will throw the same question to the audience as well. So audience, please tell us, why do you think there are very few women in data science? Catherine, you want to go?
Okay, I go first. So that is the first thing you would say in STEM, this is a set. So if you imagine this is a set of how many women actually, be part of the STEM program, then this is a big set and it becomes this small set, all right? So from this small set, and then actually how many of them into IT, all right, to IT or data analytics. This becomes smaller. So then smaller set, and then you're going to say, okay, who has the skills actually, and I have the IT, have the business knowledge, and have the, the algorithm, and I can do the scientific research, and it becomes smaller and smaller. So the overall, not even talk about the women, and it's already, that is a small set among the large population. So women is already a minority in STEM and a minority in IT and a minority in data science. That's the, like if you just multiply by the factors and you can get the small set this is one of the reasons I think if you look at the number, that is how I put it. And also this is the hard. So this is a new field and you need a lot of interaction. And it's the same thing. I will publish another one, which is I'm looking at the data science of compare female and male, and you can find a lot of people who has a PhD, and you at the early stage and you become a data scientist. Then also, how many of them actually can get through the career? And there are how many as a female, how much you can actually stay in this continuously. Every week you have a new library come up, and you have a new solution, and you have another digital, another algorithm, another application. So I think this is a part where I say it's not surprising, but we need to work on that and encourage more. So I have been in this field from day one, to be honest with you. So I moved from data and to information system and to data warehouse, and then focused on machine learning in back 10 years ago. Did my PhD, and then I did the AI as well for pattern recognition. So what I can say is, and this is just I have to show more. And another thing is, we need more female in leadership. So that's you see the role model when you share things. And when I spoke to other girl mentor a lot of people, and they say, "Oh, you're a mother of two, and you work and and day in and day out, and you have some other work to do and a volunteer as well." So they say, "Oh, actually, we can do it." And I moved from from academic to industry. They say, "Oh, we can do it." So I think we need to encourage each other. Say, we need to fight the battle, but we're not fighting. We don't need to. We just do what we like to do. So passion is important, and support. So that's the part where 4 years ago I came back from US to Australia and to Melbourne. So I joined the data science meetup, and it's a very large community. And we have a group called Data Dames, which basically female in data science. And I'm very, very happy seeing your initiative. You started talking about this, and actually, this now recently we also created another group, and we call Ada's Tribe, inspired by Ada Lovelace. And that system which we can, we just need the community to start building and teach more skills, and then per se, build confidence. I think that's just we're doing this right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you want to say, Michelle?
I was just going to add to what Catherine said about confidence. So we know from multiple studies in leadership that women, unless they feel like they fulfill the whole entire criteria of a job advertisement, women won't apply for those roles. And we know that men have a different bias where they are comfortable to apply for a role where they might only have 40 or 50% of what's required for the role. And so when we look at what we just said before about how data science has changed, is emerging, and how there's a lot of confusion around the descriptions and the titles, we can see that possibly the hypothesis could be that men are much more comfortable to jump into these new roles that have been seemingly emerging, and when they don't have all of the experience, all the qualifications, etc., where a woman might feel like she needs to have, the PhD and all of the other criteria to be able to do the same role. And so this is an unconscious bias that unfortunately exists. And I think the solution to solving that goes all the way back to what Catherine said, is how do we encourage more women when they're girls to actually get into STEM? We need to have many, many more things like what you're doing here, Shaylee, a male who's actually leading out to position women, and how critical it is to the counterparts of women to do that. And the more and more examples that we can get where we don't stereotype girls in the subject that they study, there's a lot written on this, so we don't need to go into depth about that. But that's obviously the genesis of a lot of these problems.
Okay.
I cannot agree more about the male championship. So the male champion, we built the Others Tribe, and we say the community, we actually had the male champion. Every panel we had, panel discussion, it's about we have female in leadership and help other female to grow. But in the meantime, the panel, we always have a male champion to support us, because this is to grow that we need everybody to be together.
Okay.
We're actually doing a study at the moment with the University of Sydney, UTS, and we're looking at female career in STEM, basically, and looking at why do some women thrive and some don't in their careers. And so we should get that data back in by the end of the year, and that will be very interesting to see.
Okay.
I'm doing that for data scientists.
You are?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm working with one of my, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Both of you can share that with us so that we can share it widely. Whenever you publish that story on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever, please tag me so that my audience can also have a read. Guninder, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I would add to what both Michelle and Catherine have said. And, you know, Catherine, when you're talking about, adding or not stereotyping girls, I can just share a personal anecdote. I have a 10-year-old, and a year ago, I was scouting schools because we were changing locations. And going into one of those discussions, the admissions officer asked her what her favorite subject was, and she said maths. And he was like, "That's strange coming from a girl." And I was quite taken aback because this is one of the premier schools. And I was like, in this day and age, to kind of already stereotype a primary kid when a kid says they like maths. So there are a lot of social cues, particularly I would say here in India, which play against women entering STEM. And I think that's where we have to start to make sure we are filling the funnel enough, because it is a leaky funnel in every field where we're talking about how many women make it to the leadership level. So it's about starting at the base and filling that funnel. And as you said, also working on some of the unconscious biases and pretty much, I would say, common levers that we engage also for other areas of expertise to make sure that we have good retention over levels. I would say if I talk Circle K, there are a lot of good things which happen in this space, but I would say they're not necessarily aimed just at women. It's about retaining good talent irrespective of gender. So, you know, making sure you have the flexibility in terms of working hours. It's even having the flexibility of, right, you want to work from home versus come into office on a regular basis, find your times. So there are a lot of these really good options on the table, and I personally have benefited from them. I needed to move to India for personal reasons, and I'm now predominantly work from home, yet supporting global teams, right? So I think organizations, and I can particularly say to Circle K, are learning, are developing, but are also realizing while this might have started about retaining women, it's as much about retaining good talent across different life stages, because you need different solutions for people in different life stages.
So thank you very much for that, girls. I would request you to nominate 3 more people that you think should be on this show, 3 more women in data science, so that I can take this battle forward and get more girls to actually participate and show what they're doing in this space. And I think that will be not only for you, for the audience as well. If you think someone you want to hear from, a woman in data science, please mention their name in the comment section, and I'll make sure that they're here on the panel and discussing their point of view. Okay, so very quickly, we've just lost Catherine. She'll be back. In the meantime, let's get to the next section, and that is success stories. So let's talk about success stories. And I usually say nothing succeeds like success. What is your 1 success or 2 success stories? Take your time, which you want to share with the audience, so that they can also learn from where you've been successful, whether it is helped in monetization or anything else. Please call it out. You may want to name or you may not want to name. It's up to you. So, Michelle, you want to go first?
Whoever, yeah, I can go first. I would say, right, success, there's nothing like success, and yet success comes in many shapes and forms. So yes, I think monetarily, I would say the benefit I've had of working with big organizations is often a good idea might actually add small percentages or a few pennies or cents in benefit, but as soon as you scale up the idea across the enterprise, it runs into millions. So I have been fortunate to be part of several such projects. I would say, to name one, I would say I work with a retailer, right? Convenience retailer, and footprint and network or retail footprint is an important part. And I would say decade-ish ago, I was part of a change or a transformation where we stopped looking at capital investments as single standalone stores, but really understanding spillover and cannibalization at a store level as we added, subtracted from the network to change the footprint. And that even one wrong decision means impact of millions to the bottom line of the organization. So it was very happy, not just with the monetary impact, but the fact that cannibalization, spillover, retail footprint, these became common terms in the parts of the organization which dealt with creating new sites and working with them. So there were immense benefits. The other one, if I could add, is while you're part of lots of monetary successes, nothing works as well in terms of motivation, encouragement, and getting to success as having a good team in place. And one of the things I have been most fortunate about is really establishing a team to support the European organization, and not just the team that I built from scratch, but I would say also setting up a network which that team would interact and support across 9 countries in Europe. And that's when it becomes really interesting, because you're talking about these small virtual teams all over who have to collaborate very closely to deliver value to thousands of stores across these geographies. And you're dealing with multiple languages, multiple cultures, and the learning that you get in terms of why data science truly is a team sport and why it's so important to keep it simple rather than, pull out the big guns at the first opportunity is super important. So I would say those, are two success stories that I'm very proud of.
Okay. Michelle, do you want to share the success stories?
Yeah, so I really loved what Guninder said, that success comes in many different ways. In the area of people analytics, it's a pretty challenging field to quantify a lot of things around people analytics. So I like to solve big problems, and in the space of entrepreneurship, one of the biggest problems has been in the world that between 90 and 98%, there's various studies show that startups fail, and there's many factors for failure, lack of access to capital and many talent and many other things. But I had a hypothesis that there was some correlation between people's attitudes and motivations and venture outcome. And so we did 2 studies, one specifically in Australia and then a global study of getting founders at various different stages of their business journey, and then coming up with some objective criteria to evaluate high performers, mid performers, and low performers. And so we had the rare opportunity to be able to study what's known as a hidden population, which is super difficult to access to be able to do a world first study. And what we were able to do is collect a whole lot of data and then play with the data in many different ways to build a statistical model, which we call now success factor models. And so we were able to do that, and then we spent 4.5 years applying the model to over 1,000 case studies to see, okay, just like we were saying before, what impact, what difference does the model make? And then, to be able to refine the model. And so where we found significant correlations with improvements in venture outcomes by people being able to understand the unique motivations of the team members of the co-founding team, and then being able to cover what we've labelled as blind spots. So it's really tricky when you're working with people analytics, trying to quantify and separate that qualitative data from the quantifiable data, and it's a very, very challenging project. But over the years, it's proved to be a really powerful resource for founders and their teams.
Okay. So Catherine, when we lost you, we were talking about the success stories that you've executed. So please share any success story that you've got, 1 or 2 success stories, whatever you want to share.
Oh, that's an interesting question for me to answer because I think we learn so many lessons, and I learned so many lessons. If I want to, over every single failure we have actually experienced, and I myself and also with other people together, it's a success story. It's you apply because that's what we do. We're like for how many years now, and we. You get the data, we build a model. I think I cannot really name a particular one on recommendation engine, on pricing analytics, or maybe on people analytics, and also employee and experience, and the customer experience. I don't think I can name or maybe assets for the forecasting. What I actually think that is a successful story for me is well, we build a data science team. So we built a data science team, which is a team where we can actually work together and to take a business problem, become productionalize it, and bring the ROI and to be validated by the business, and or we can reuse that what we build back end. And I think that is I think to me is building a few successfully building a few data science team is the success story for me.
Perfect. That's a good one. So success comes in many ways. And one of them is building big teams and good, intelligent teams. We can't get away without asking a very simple question. How can data science help in the current COVID-19 environment? Can data science somehow help in solving the COVID-19 issue? Or what do you see in the market? What is your point of view on that? And I'll start with Catherine this time. So, Catherine, what do you think? How can data science help in solving COVID-19?
Well, I would say I am working on COVID-19, and I'm working on the COVID-19 with as a person we work together, and it's a volunteer work. We're using our skills of analytics. We don't really have a deep knowledge in the public health. However, we do have a lot of hands-on experience in building the BI tool, which is not BI tool, which basically analytics. So analytics, you can actually help people understand what is going on, build people's confidence. Then you can actually contribute to build a model because the data is changing. The situation is so complex. And so that's where data science can actually try and experiment different models. And everyone who had this skill set, and you can help from the analytical perspective, but data itself is a challenge as well. So now a lot of different companies, we got the data, from the public repository, but a lot of companies and actually now is building their repository and pre-clean it, and also they take the unstructured data, which is from the news and from the different governments, and compile the together. Then people who has access and who actually, I think they make it public available for people who actually use data science, your skills, and to understand and take the next step to help. And I think that is it's I view it as a duty or interest, not only the interest. I view it as a good citizen. If you think what you can do apart from helping our neighbor and to do some shopping or help the elderly and to let them to get the daily life moving, but use some of your skills and professional skills in this environment. That's where I spend like most of my evenings and working on that now. Hopefully there will be like more people will work on the same. I think that's the more we actually contribute, collaborate, and the better we make it faster for to catch the COVID-19 understand from the data's perspective.
Okay, Guninder, what do you think?
I mean, I would like to talk about two aspects, right? I mean, COVID-19 is first and foremost a humanitarian crisis. So yes, I would say this is where it is important to figure out what is happening and figuring it out fast. And what data science at is crunching data at speed, at scale. So there's a lot of data being generated, and data science, I would say, has a crucial role there in supporting the medical community and the business community in understanding what is really happening. We're not yet at a stage where we can talk about predictive or prescriptive, but at least understanding what's happening and at least getting to diagnostic of or with some level of confidence determining why it is happening. I think those are very important aspects that data science should play in. The second aspect, which is becoming as important or in the times of COVID-19, is the whole economic impact of it. And that's where I would say we have a lot of businesses who are making decisions based on gut and emotion rather than facts and insights. And that is the second aspect where, whether be you analysts or be you data scientists, there is a crucial role to play in supporting organizations to make fact-based and sensible decisions. It is a black swan event, so not every model is going to react typically, and you might have to close or put aside some of your models, but still bring those core fundamentals of looking at data scientifically to hypothesize what could be the issues and try to narrow down solutions or paths to success for organizations. I think those are two key areas where data science has enormous opportunity to impact how the world develops from here.
Yeah, Michelle, what's your point of view on that?
I would echo what Catherine and Guninder have already said. I would add another lens that I come from, which is one of the things that's greatly fascinated me is public awareness and public bias around people's understandings of the risk factors that are associated with COVID from a medical health standpoint. And so that's an area that I think data science could really play a significant role if we could start to collect a lot of that data, and if we had been able to earlier, but even from here on in, and be able to start to look at some of the human factors that contribute to some of the decisions that have been made in various different parts of the world, and that would add another dimension to the crisis.
Okay, that is brilliant. That was all my questions. So now we need to very quickly jump onto the audience questions. We are short of time, so very quickly, I'll start with the YouTube questions. No, I'll start with the Facebook questions first. Okay. There's a question from, and I don't know who's going to help solving that question, and that is, hey there, I don't have a degree and I'm confused between many educational resources about data science on the web, like Coursera and other platforms. So where should I start to learn data science? And I know each one of you will have an opinion and answer on that. So we start with Catherine, you.
All right. So for me, and it's like I think there are reputable platforms you can learn apart if you are not going to take up education, in a tertiary degree in a university. So like a Coursera, or there are other few, which is you can choose. What I would suggest is you actually try to find out what other people's recommendation, and also you find a mentor who can actually you do a research and where you that is ask them to help you and to select a few courses. Then this is a good, that is what I have been doing with my mentees, and I think they will help you to start from somewhere, and then you get hands-on experience, and from there onwards.
Okay, Guninder.
Yeah, I would echo what has just been said, because I would say, yes, there's a lot out there. What's important to say is what is right for you. And even though you are saying, Sadala, that you're confused on where to begin, what it would be important to understand is what do you already have in your backpack, right? What is your background? What's your starting point? And therefore, and also what kind of opportunities are you looking for? Because that will craft what sort of resources you should work with. There are a lot of, I would say, recommendations, reviews out there peer reviews, which you can also see, to really understand the value certain courses bring, if that's what you're looking for. I would still say, sitting back and listening to a course is one, but I would encourage you very strongly to go and get your hands dirty, even if it's going on Kaggle and experimenting with data sets or similar such platforms. But do put in hands-on time, whether virtually or if you can just volunteer with some organization around to say, I would like to support you pro bono and just get the experience if you can't really, join them as an employee. I think there are lots of ways to go about it, but what I would encourage is a good mix of theoretical and roll up your sleeves and practical learning in this space.
I would just add that they've said it beautifully. I would just add that startups are a wonderful space to be able to go and get your hands dirty. Startups the world over are always looking for interns or the equivalent of interns. It's a wonderful place to just put up your hand and say, I'm prepared to do anything, and go and select the companies where you're going to get a mentor like Catherine or Guninder, and get that mentor and just keep putting your hand up. And so in any field, what we know is that those who succeed are the ones who are prepared to do anything and learn, and you'll just be exposed to so many things. So if you think about the T that Catherine mentioned before, that you want to have that generalist experience. So I would be encouraging you to go and find out in the areas that you haven't yet experienced across the whole field of data science, that you then figure out what for that particular area is a course that you can do, or a mentor for that area, and just keep putting your hand in the ring, or your hat in the ring, the metaphor, one of those things.
Good stuff. So that is very, very well said. And the other thing which I can suggest is that there is a lot of data available online at the moment, which was never before. The softwares you want to use are absolutely free. So Python, R, they're all free today. When we used to work, or when I started working a long time ago, a SaaS pod was $250,000 and I couldn't afford it. But today I could get R for free of cost, or Python downloaded and start working. And I think the best thing to learn is by making your hands dirty, start trying solving problems, think about problems, document them, see what you want in terms of data, try and find out data, get that data, build models. I think you don't need anyone. I usually say analytics people do not need a job. If they can build something which can be so valuable that people will run after them. If you're a true analytics professional or a data scientist by nature, you will not have a problem in educating yourself. It's very easy. But you need that passion, and someone mentioned that. That passion needs to be there. You need to think about data science as what is going to do for you and what it can do for humanity. I think that is the most important aspect from my 2 cents. Okay, there was the next comment is from Abhishek Dwivedi. Hi Abhishek, how are you? He said, please provide website to study about it. I don't know, it was at 24 minutes into the show. I think someone mentioned about some study, one of the three of you. If there is one, can you please share it? If you don't, that's fine. I'll move on. The question was not very well written, so I can't go beyond that. There are some comments. One comment is, I can say from Twitter, which says, women tend to underestimate their ability relative to men, especially in public settings, and negotiate less successfully. This is from Amit. So basically, he's trying to say that, that was the question around why there are less women in the data science stream. Okay, very quickly now, I'll jump onto LinkedIn. There are a few questions here on LinkedIn as well. The problem with LinkedIn is that it's not directly connected to the system, so I'll have to read them through. So there's the first question, first comment from Harris Hunt. Hi Harrison, how are you? Harrison Hunt, sorry, get your name right. He says, hey team, definitely hit and trial. This is the answer to the question when I said what is your organization doing? Is it hit and trial or structured? He's mentioned it's definitely hit and trial. There is another person, Sajida Rahman. Hi, Sajida, how are you? And she says, as a master of data analytics student trying to penetrate into job market, I was wondering, what can I do to make myself more career ready? Who wants to take that?
I think Michelle covered it beautifully, right? Where she said there are a lot of startups out there. This is going to be a tricky period to go job hunting, of course. That said, the demand for good analysts and data scientists is never going to be more. So there's a lot of opportunity to do good stuff. Reach out, circulate your resume, but also put your hat in the ring and just reach out to whoever is working around you in terms of startups, because get that experience under your belt to showcase to potential employers further down the line that you can marry practical to theoretical.
Okay.
I will add on something. So I completely agree that is a lot of startups and even my startup, and we take interns and as well. So one thing you can do, and echoing what Shelley is talking about, and you actually find the problem. There is so much data, public data is out there. If you have done a master degree and you have a degree, it doesn't really automatically knock the door open. The competition is high. And so you want to showcase, but don't wait until you get the position to showcase. Get your showcase ready. And then where you can actually showcase with a project, you find the problem or you make the suggestion and you use them skills. It doesn't matter the size. And it's something, a problem you're interested, you could be able to get the data. Then you showcase with a real, a small piece. Then you try to sell yourself and find opportunity where they can see the value, you can bring value. It's not they say, well, we are taking you on because we want to educate you more. It is a two-way. So this is a two-way. You get yourself, by doing some work, not necessarily will definitely fit what exactly they wanted, but a smart employer will see the potential in you. And they will say there's some of the skills you're doing the particular showcase which you're demonstrating, and they can be useful for their future or current work. I think that is one thing.
Okay. The final question, but before that, I would like to thank Michelle. Michelle needs to jump out. So Michelle, thank you very much for being here and sharing your views. It'll be great if you could nominate 3 more people, 3 women in data science who we should be interviewing in the comment section on LinkedIn. And I will definitely reach out to them. Thank you very much for being here and, share this interview with as many people as you want. It's yours.
Thank you, Shaylee, and thank you, Guninder, and thank you, Catherine. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, so last question, girls, before we finish it off. And that's from Shashi Srivastava. Hi, Shashi, how are you? And he's saying, how data science can be useful to create dynamic distancing solution in the COVID-19 era, especially for education, colleges, and universities once they will open. As we have to enable our education system with online virtual classes and AI solutions. Very, very interesting and intelligent question.
That's a tricky one, right? I think if I knew the answer to that, believe me, I would not be on this panel, Shelley. I would be sitting busy working on it, right? So, yeah. Honestly, I think we have to hit and try. There is a lot of on dynamic distancing and distance calculation models. There are, of course, theoretical literature which is available. So, of course, you can leverage off that. That said, I think especially if you're talking about educational systems and schools, for that matter, which is what I believe, Shelley, you just read out, it's important to understand that kids will bring in a level of noise and the ability to not follow rules, which not necessarily any model will be able to model or control for. So you have to expect the unexpected in those models. So I would say proceed with caution and don't just assume that what theoretically and from a mathematical perspective is a good model is going to really work in practice. There's going to be a lot of hit and trial here. There isn't an end-to-end process which is defined.
Okay, Catherine, what do you think?
Very well written, and I mean very well said. And I think this is you really need to divide into different sectors because the education system is quite broad. You from tertiary, you see the technology distance learning is already quite mature, and the people are adapted to it, and the different audience. And but if from the middle school area and all from the younger, so there are different markets. Actually, if you divide a different market, you tailor for the different needs of the students and the teacher, and also the education, how well you can leverage whether the focus is on the technology or actually is or building the model. So you have to really differentiate the market before you deep dive into building any solution.
Okay. Yep. Thank you very much, Catherine, on that. Guys, any last comment you want to make to the audience? Anything you want audience to leave with before we end the show? Guninder?
Just say keep learning, be a learner for life, keep experimenting. Both are equally important in this space to grow as a profession, but also to grow as a person, to contribute as a person in the wider world, and also contribute in your professional life. So just keep learning, keep experimenting, and make sure you're doing what motivates you. Otherwise, you will not succeed in this space because there's a lot of internal motivation which comes into play here.
Okay. And before I go to Catherine, wait, one line that you want to leave for data science, beginner data scientists.
Stay curious. Stay hungry.
Stay hungry. Okay, Catherine, your turn.
Well, that's a good line. Have been taken. So I quite often share with anyone, say any team, and I would say share and learn and deliver. That is the very critical thing. And share, learn, and deliver. That is our daily life. And for data science, but again, if you want to, if we want to be sustainable, and you have to be happy. This is what you want to do. You think you fit into this field. But the other thing, actually, I want to add one thing about, given that's the theme of this, our discussion is women in data science. And I want to say, don't be afraid. And it is not a field where they're only, if you are not so technical, if you, don't really have a lot of programming or mathematics background, don't be afraid. Just, start learning from somewhere, and you may find your way. Say, that's where I truly, I can contribute. Even you are doing ethics, you're doing privacy, you can also contribute to the data science field. So don't be afraid by the, hype or what's the definition laid out there. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. And anything for the beginners? Catherine, anything for the beginners? Anything for the beginners?
So beginners, and I would say, I would highly recommend, leverage what you have compared to like people like you and me and all of us, and compared to 20 years ago, 20 or 25 years ago, we never had so many actually available technology, available platform, free. And also there are a lot of people are happy to help you out because they already mature. At that time, when we started our career, there are not many people in that mature enough or developed, have been in this field long enough, cover both industry and academic. So go out and, work hard, but beginners, and leverage what you have. You are in a better situation. Use the resource, and people will, you help, you bring value to other, organization. Anywhere you can help, you can get help from other people too.
Good stuff. Thank you, both of you. Thank you very much for your time today. And I've taken more than committed 1 hour, which usually happens on this show, because we have lots to discuss. Thank you for your time, both of you. It'll be great if you could nominate 3 people who you think, 3 women who you think should be on the show discussing data science and sharing their point of view. Please do that, and hopefully, and like, share this particular video so more and more people learn from you and Michelle as it goes widely heard and read by people. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Great to be part of
really appreciate for having me.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Hi guys, so that was Michelle, Catherine and Guninder, 2 from Australia, 1 from India, discussing their experience, sharing their experience around data science, in talking about processes, skills and success stories. And I think they had some very good valid points to share. Now, if you want someone to be on the show, please mention their name in the comment section and I will definitely try and get them on the show. And please keep watching and stay safe. We have to maintain the distance, the social distance. We have to stay safe. We have to stay away from each other for some time till this whole coronavirus thing is gone. Thank you for your time and thank you very much. See you next week with either one leader or a group of leaders in data science and emerging technologies. See you then. Bye now.